Hello and good afternoon to our current mentorship session. This is through CareersNOW, Food and Beverage Ontario's Workforce Development Initiative. Through the initiative, we are offering mentorship sessions like this. We're doing job fairs, and also micro-credentials are available through our jobseeker.careersnow.ca portal. So please feel free to take a look there at the events that we have available, as well as register for job fairs and upcoming mentorship sessions. And today's session is on sanitation and health and safety and environmental positions in the food and beverage production industry. We have two speakers today. So we may go just before 5 o'clock. We won't go over, but with two speakers as opposed to three, it might be a little bit shorter today. No problem at all though, and we'll get things started with Terry. And I'll let you go ahead and introduce yourself, your background, why you joined the industry, and then we'll go to Marileo, and then I'll ask some questions. And feel free to ask any questions in the chat, and I can ask those to our speakers. And so certainly after the session, if you have more questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nicole, for the opportunity. I really appreciate it. I've been certainly very excited about this all week. So my name is Terry Wilson. I am a food safety professional and sanitation supervisor at Trophy Foods in Mississauga. I attended, in terms of my education, Sir Sanford Fleming College in Peterborough. I was a human resource management diploma graduate and attended a BA program through Athabasca University. I also achieved my operations management diploma while there and a marketing certificate. So my primary education has not been in food sciences or within my career path, but it certainly did lead me to it. My first position out of post-secondary was with a recruitment agency. I was a recruiter and a training and development consultant. Some of my clients were large food and beverage manufacturers, and through networking with them, in this position, that's where I met key contacts with Baskin-Robbins and Kraft and Weetabix, as well as Coca-Cola. Baskin-Robbins was my first food manufacturing experience as a production supervisor. It literally fell into my lap. It was the gift of forging some relationships through that experience as a recruiter. It was 3 years of sheer excitement. It was probably the best opportunity, and I've never since looked back at wanting to work in an office again. For the past 14 years, I've developed a love and commitment to food safety and sanitation. I've really had the privilege of working for some well-known brands like Baskin-Robbins, Coca-Cola, Minute Maid, Woolwich Dairy, which is now Saputo, and now Trophy Foods, where I've been for the last 4 years, and I've truly found a home. So my current experience as a sanitation supervisor, my responsibilities are mainly managing and developing a sanitation program. I manage the environmental monitoring program as well for our facility. The creation and modification of SSOPs, our standard safe operating procedures or sanitation operating procedures, and forms across all 4 of our departments in our facility. I head up a joint process improvement projects with our chemical supplier, Rochester Midland, and we have a very close relationship and partnership. I also do a lot of process improvement projects with our operations team. I manage and lead a crew of sanitation employees and housekeeping employees, as well as our operations team in the daily and frequency cleaning of our facility. And I've been actively involved in our organic, our gluten-free, our supplier audits, as well as our BRC audit. And just recently, within the last week, I've been incredibly proud of everyone within the facility for all of their hard work and dedication. We just recently obtained a AA rating in our BRC audit this week. So we've definitely had some things to be excited and proud of within our facility. It is a lot of hard work to obtain that. What really attracted me and continues to drive and motivate me on this path in my career is the constant evolution of my role. a continuous need to improve, not just within my position, but our facility. The hustle and the fast-paced nature of manufacturing, it is forever changing, and the ability to constantly learn. Trophy Foods has given me an awful lot, and I've also really embraced a lot of opportunities that have come forward. Training and development. I'm currently working towards being a BRC certified professional. It is a grueling set of exams, but it is an opportunity that the company has provided me and one that I've embraced. Webinars, food safety training, our very own VP of Food Safety, Gordon Hayburn. He's recently won Sanitarian and Food Safety Professional of the Year. He is probably one of the most brilliant minds that I have ever had the privilege of working with. He handles a lot of free food safety training that is provided across the industry. Networking, so networking with chemical supply companies and other suppliers. It's really a very close-knit community within the sanitation community. So you not only get to know chemical suppliers, but you also get to know other sanitarians within the food and beverage industry. It's truly shown how close-knit of a community we are with the pandemic that we have been dealing with over the last couple of years. It's really been about companies helping other companies get through this. And we've all had a common goal of how to protect our employees. And it's really been at the forefront rather than, competing in the industry. Networking has been a very large part of my position and my path. I really take a lot of opportunities in terms of being involved with associations. So another opportunity that Trophy has given me and that my career path has given me is attending some of the fall symposiums for Ontario Food Protection Association. Our QA manager, Erin Aboud, is a member of the board of directors. It is an amazing organization, great association. They do offer free student memberships as well. And then they also have student bursaries that they give out. So it's also an opportunity that the company has given me to be a part of these organizations, these associations, and really see what other companies are out there, what other professionals are doing in the industry. It's an opportunity to listen to a lot of subject matter experts. So I've had the privilege of being involved with that and having that opportunity to really rub elbows with the people within the food industry and forge some good relationships. And I would say probably one of the best parts of being part of Trophy is our commitment to our co-op students. So we do have co-op students within our quality assurance department that come from a variety of colleges and university backgrounds. We've had recently a couple of Guelph University students that have in food sciences that have come to join us. And it's an opportunity to really share what Trophy Foods experience and what life with us at Trophy is really about, and the vast amount of experience and knowledge that we already have in the industry. Not to mention, I've learned a little bit about what TikTok is. So that has been, it's definitely not my forte, but it's been quite the experience. It's also an opportunity for a lot of our co-op students to gain that valuable work experience and the networking skills. I guess when it comes to my path, if I were to give people some advice or students some advice, what really brought me to what I love is networking. So my first bit of advice would be to get out there and network, take the opportunity to become part of these associations, to learn from the subject matter experts, to learn from other professionals in the industry, take risks, never be afraid to take risks and learn new things. Be a sponge and make sure you try and absorb as much information as you possibly can. And the most important thing I learned about my path is don't ever expect it to be perfect. There's never failure. There's only ever experience, and every single step, whether it's backwards or towards your goal, it's a learning opportunity. And I've certainly learned a lot, and I'm not done learning. So that's pretty much where I've come from and my journey. There have been a lot of educational opportunities, a lot of opportunities to learn in terms of health and safety with the chemical suppliers, as well as with my coworkers. So I've been very fortunate.
I think that's awesome. Thank you so much. I think from my perspective, what I can learn, what I've seen is your department, your role was probably arguably one of the hardest hit with COVID. You know, in terms of when everybody, you know, realized this thing wasn't going away and it was such a big deal. From speaking to other people in the industry, it's like sanitation. Obviously, when we first thought we could touch and pass it along to, you know, to food and touching and all of that. You know, how did that impact you in terms of, you know, literally going into work the next day and having to make changes? What kind of changes did you have to make?
I'm pretty fortunate to have a really good senior leadership team behind me. So we jumped right in, head first into this. As soon as we knew that this was going to be an ongoing issue, we immediately jumped into planning mode. There was a lot of sourcing out materials and making sure that we had enough, you know, the whole hand sanitizer and all of our supplies and that demand that increased. We were very prepared for this, probably far more than I thought we were. And to the point where we were actually able to help out other companies, and we were able to help out our other divisions and our other location in Calgary when they needed it. So we were pretty much on top of it the entire time. We really relied on our local public health unit for a lot of our information. We used our resources wisely. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, it was a frustrating time at the beginning because I think a lot of negative stories came out in the press around, you know, food company, an outbreak at a certain food company. And what was frustrating from my perspective was the reason there were outbreaks was because you had to be at work. A lot of other organizations and people were able to work from home and pretty much move the staff there. But food production is a different beast, so you have to be there. And, you know, whilst there was this sort of outrage that people are getting sick at certain points and in certain plants, at the same time, people wanted to, they were all panic buying and wanting the shelves to be full. And so my heart went out. I mean, we really were trying to promote the fact that food production people were superheroes right now. You were on the front lines and you were keeping the shelves full and trying to keep each other safe as well. So, you know, I probably have more questions around that, and maybe others do too. You know, unless you have anything to add, we'll go over to Moraleo and hear from her, and then we'll do our sort of more group discussion.
No, I look forward to those questions.
Awesome.
So hi everyone, my name is Moraleo Mode. I want to say very, very big thank you to Nicole and the entire team for having me. I really, like I said earlier, I really like what you are doing because this is the future. If we don't invest in them, we will be very, very, you know, get to a stage in life that we realize that the young people or the young adults that are supposed to take the next phase of the race are not there because we are not really talking about it. So thank you for bringing this up. And I believe that this is just the beginning. We are moving forward with it, and you can always count me in anytime you have anything doing. I am him. Yeah, because there must be continuity in everything I do, in we do, not just me now. So let me start with how I started my career. I have a background in food technology, and that was in Nigeria. Myself and my family moved in about 5 years ago to Canada, which is, I count it a great privilege and a great opportunity for that leap move, and it's something I have never regretted it, and I won't regret it by God's grace. So when I got into Canada, I worked briefly with Maple Leaf. You know, I think that is always at times the first place of touch for everybody who is coming in. Then I worked briefly with Coca-Cola and some other companies. So as I was, working, even as a graduate, I didn't get what I wanted, but I never lost focus of what I was looking for. So the first thing I would tell anybody is, number one, know what you are looking for. And I need to let you know that the food industry is a huge industry. Is very big, very, very huge, very huge. But because the society has really promoted some aspect of the industry now to the detriment of others, and thank God for people like Nicola now coming up and speaking up that there is life in food industry, guys, come and see. And that is why Terry, myself, and so many other people are coming on this platform to let the young generation know that the world is not all about IT, because IT alone does not put food on the table. If during this COVID-19, right, if the whole world is about IT, you can imagine, even IT can help us. So every one of us, we have to look beyond where we are now and stop like looking into even yesterday. Yesterday is already gone. So we have to start looking into the future, 5 years to this time, this years to this time, and bring all of the mindset that we think we promote the industry. So how did I get to health and safety? Currently, I work as health and safety supervisor at Kerry Food. And I remember I was working as a QA specialist. You remember I said I have my background in food science, and I've worked as QA specialist. I've worked as training and development specialist. I love people. And if there's anything, I love to work with people. I love to, journey with people in discovering who they are, right? In their journey of becoming. So that takes me a lot of meeting people. So I was working with this company, Chodlins Limited, and as a QA specialist. And before then, I realized I developed passion for health and safety. And I started taking a little training. I'll call it a little training at University of Victoria, that is BC, right? So, and I joined the health and safety committee of that company, not knowing that there will be an opportunity, right? They were not having any health and safety person, but they were having like the joint health and safety committee team to manage the health and safety program for the company. So I joined them. So after some time, I realized that they wanted a health and safety coordinator, and I applied. And I like, okay, have you started training? Even though I was doing my I was working as quality assurance specialist, right? I did not lose focus of what I wanted, right? So when that opportunity came up, I put in for it. And like they asked me, oh, do you have any training? I said, no, I don't have, like, I've not completed my training, but I have started something. Just like what Terry said, I have started something. So, and that was how I got in. So gradually I learned on the job. So it wasn't like I came in as a perfect person. That I do tell people that I meet when I'm training that it doesn't have to be perfect. Whatever you want to do in life, don't start as a perfectionist. And if there is anybody I don't love to work with, people call themselves perfectionists because they're always like, everything has to be 100%, but I'm not this 100% person. But I have seen myself going up there and I walk people down there. Eventually it will be there. So that is who I am currently. And like I said, the food industry is huge. There is the CI, the continuous improvement in food industry. There is health and safety in food industry. There is the sanitation department in the food industry. There is what do we call R&D in food industry. There is also IT in food industry. There is warehouse shipping department. Is a very huge house. So if you are looking forward to join, I think is the best place to work. And I do not have any regret working there, especially knowing when I was working as QA specialist that whatever we do it for the people. We serve the people. And I do tell my team, whatever you are not going to give to yourself, don't give it out. So it's so amazing to know that we are producing what people what we are selling to people, irrespective of the harm of the food industry you are working. It's like, I will compare it to the part of our body, right? My head, my mouth, my hands, my feet, the inner organs of me. When we all come together, that is what the food company or food industry is about. Yeah,
so
thank you.
Tell us if you wouldn't mind, like, what's your typical day at work? So what's your, and like, remind me again of your title, just in case anyone missed it.
Currently, I work as health and safety supervisor. Yeah.
And typical day for you?
Yeah, my God, typical day for me depends. There are times that are easy, days are very easy, and there are times it's crazy, but I do not like to talk about the crazy days, especially maybe if there's an injury or something that you didn't really plan for, or maybe there's an audit coming in. Nah, my God, it's going to be like a crazy day from morning to evening. But for my age, let me say, just like a normal day, come to work, get on my emails, try to see, okay, do I have anything that I need to reply on? Or do I have a KPI that I need to report on? Then definitely maybe by 8:30, I get into the first year meeting to give them the safety tip of the day report, if there was any incident the previous day, or if there was any training update that needed to be completed. And that takes about 5 minutes or so. That's with the cross-functional team of the facility I work with. Then after that, I can, have a touch point with the supervisor, production supervisor, if there's anything that he needed to tell me, or if there's anything I need to tell him, because we need to let the people know that they own health. Everybody owns health and safety. Because I'm the health and safety supervisor doesn't mean I have to you hold your hand on the job. No, it's everybody's work to make sure you keep safe. You think about yourself, you think about your neighbor. Then after that, I can go to the plant to check if there is anything I need, people to remind people and to make sure they are doing the right thing, they are using their PPE. And there are times it could be like my training week. If it's my training day for a whole day, it could be like I have to be engaged in training. If I have a new employee, I have to train them on at least the first most important trainings they need to get before they get onto the job, because we don't want anybody to get, for health and safety training is key, because it's part of our compliance. If anything happens and the government had to come into raid, the first thing they will ask is this employee trained. So training is very, very key for us in my role. So maybe towards around 10:30, I will have the management meeting, which is our tier 2 meeting, to brief them, okay, if there's any other KPI that we need to move with that. And because Carey that I work with is a global company, it's a European company, we're over 36,000 employees in the entire world. So we are everywhere. So at times for NA, that is my North American zone alone, the health and safety specialists we are over 50 health and safety specialists. So there are times we have to go into the North American meeting, and at times it may be like my business unit meeting. So there's a lot of meetings going on there, but I think that is just the summary of a not a crazy day for health and safety. But if it's a crazy day, we have to do root cause analysis, try to do accident or incident investigation, write reports, training, and all of the stuff. Yeah, or do WSIB.
I don't think people realize just how important your role is in keeping people safe. Maybe you can expand on this, and Terry, please feel free to jump in as well. People have an idea in their heads of what a food production looks like. They don't see perhaps how big these facilities are, the machinery, the robotics, complicated processes, and one move could affect somebody down the line. Maybe you can expand on that better than I can, but I've heard, not to say this is super dangerous, people like you keep the workplace safe, but without people like yourselves, horrible accidents can happen. If you're, if someone's cleaning a machine and somebody else turns the machine on further down the line, all these things, maybe you want to take it from there if there's anything you've ever heard, or if there's anything specific to your role that you know could go wrong if you weren't having these procedures in place and this training that you just mentioned.
Yeah, I would say too, for any typical company, health and safety role is very, very important. Even though they don't have a specialist or a coordinator, there should be somebody in place who owns that, you know, that aspect, because, you know, when you say everybody's thing, at times you still need somebody to coordinate it. For example, let's say we are having a new employee who is just coming in, let's say the millennial, somebody who just be like, oh, I need the money, just come, without really having an understanding of the environment is. And I do tell people before I forget this, that even though you have been working, let's say 100 years, let's say I work with Terry for 5 years and I have to come to Terry and Carrie, they sound the same. And I have to come to Carrie, even though it's the same role. But for the fact that I'm changing environment, I am still a new employee. And that environment is still new because the setup is different, right? The way you've worked before, you have to, you know, learn the environment differently. So when they come in, the first thing we want to do is to make sure they are trained. We trained, you know, we do like hands-on training, not just, you know, put them for hard chemistry training. No, you know, of recent I redesigned our training module that I included practical training that I spread across like 2 weeks, because there are times, you know, we feel like, oh, we need them on the job fast, especially these days of COVID, that we do not really have too many people on ground to work. So when people come in, the first thing is we want to get them onto the job after the e-learning or whatever. So, but I changed that and to like, when you come in, you do the e-learning, but you have to go through the practical learning. So we take such an employee to the plant to see, number one, see the environment. Number two, one by one, know what log out, tag out is. This is how we do it here. You might have been doing it in other places, but for this place, this is what we do. This is how we do it here. And we make the employees sign that, okay, I am trained on this practical training. I understand I had the opportunity to ask questions, and I now understand how this is done. Then for my facility, we do a lot of heavy lifting, right? And I realized over time that, you know, the way somebody who had been working, let's say, for 2 years here, right? That person knows how to lift. So if a new person is coming in and wants to use that old employee as a standard for him or herself, eventually they're going to get injured. So what I did is to break it down. Let's say today you'll be lifting 20 bags. Maybe on a typical day, you lift 100 bags, for example. I will reduce it to 20 bags for the first day. Try it. I won't load you with the 100 bags so that you will not get injured. So to come back to your question, that there is a lot into health and safety, the ergonomic aspect, the management aspect, the talent management, because eventually, if that employee gets injured, it's going to have a way on our turnover, right? So we have to make sure that they are okay. It's our joy that we hire somebody and that person is safe, not just safe, that person loves the environment, not just love the environment, that person can continue working with us. So it's health and safety is huge, it's a big umbrella, but I love what I'm doing.
Terry, you want to add that? You can tell you're very passionate, you know, about your job, for sure.
Thank you.
It's infectious.
Thank you.
It is for sure. And health and safety is a huge part of sanitation as well.
Mm-hmm.
And you would know that firsthand as well. So when we onboard somebody, or we do an orientation with someone that is part of not just our regular operations team, but especially our sanitation team. With our sanitation team, we go more in depth in a lot of our health and safety, because we are primarily going to be handling the chemicals that are in our facility. So we do detailed chemical training that involves our chemical handling procedures, how we're going to do our various dispensing. We are very fortunate. We have dispensing systems where it automatically, it already dilutes our chemicals for us. We have dosing systems. So we've really truly gone to the next level and eliminated a lot of our immediate contact with our chemicals. On top of that, we have our supplier training too. So we have our chemical supplier that comes in and does our annual training with all of our operations team. But our chemical supplier also comes in and does a detailed training on not just our chemicals, but the methods of different methods of how we can go about our cleaning in our facility. And we do a lot of PPE training as well. It's not simply enough to give an employee the PPE and give them the different levels of PPE for chemical dispensing and handling. You have to teach employees and teach everyone how to properly put on the PPE and also how to properly take that PPE off to avoid any type of exposure. So there's a lot of theory and practical training that's involved with health and safety when it comes to sanitation. And it is a very important part. And we do have a pretty big saying on my team, and that's, we come to work whole, we go home whole.
Yeah, sure.
I think another misconception, and again, you can certainly share what you think the biggest misconceptions are, but I think I've walked through so many different facilities, baking facilities, meat facilities, and what blows my mind is just how clean they are. I think people don't realize, these are state-of-the-art facilities. We get our food from these amazing and factories. Maybe you can add to that just in terms of what people might think versus like if you're talking to friends and they just like blown away at certain aspects of your job. Like, what would you say the biggest misconceptions in the food industry is?
I think when you look at different parts of the industry, when you look at dairy, for instance, and you walk into a fluid milk facility where everything is really enclosed in an enclosed piping system, and then you walk into a cheese plant, there are varying levels of clean, and it's all based on risk assessments that are done as well. Yeah. So when you look at a snack food industry, coming from a dairy background myself, coming into a snack food industry, it's a different level of clean, and it's a different type of clean. So you may have your wet cleaning facilities. Well, currently I'm in a dry clean facility. We have to be very careful and mindful of how much water and how much moisture we get on certain surfaces, because that can promote growth. So we have to be very careful with where we're putting water, where we're putting fluids. So our cleaning, depending on what type of industry or what type of product that you make, our cleaning is different. So it's not always, it's sanitation. So it's not always the cleanest and the most glamorous position in the world, but it's definitely something that you really grow a sense of pride when you finish cleaning a department and you can sit back and look and go, I remember what this looked like about 5-6 hours ago. And it's pristine, it's beautiful, and we're ready to make our product again.
Well, do you have any, do you think that there's misconceptions out there when you talk to friends or family, things that they're like, I had no idea that that's what it was like inside a food factory, essentially?
I think for me, for my role, I think people think hazard identification is just for health and safety specialists alone. And like I said before, it's everybody's duty to, identify hazard, right? And if we don't, like Terry says something like, the way I've worked as well in a wet environment and I've worked in a dry environment. There are two, and I also work in a pharmaceutical environment. If you work in a pharmaceutical environment, then you will see the level of cleaning they have. Then you come back to wet environment or like my current environment, you feel like, oh my God, the whole world is going crazy. But it's not like that. It's just based on what they are producing. But the key word I'm trying to, say based on Terry is the risk assessment of what whatever we are doing, right? Hazard identification is everybody's job. And that is why even from when the new employee is coming in, we have to let them know that, okay, this is how to identify hazard. If you see something, say something. So most of the time, a lot of people think, some of these programs are just like management program. Oh, sanitation is terrorist program, QA is QA manager's program, and this is this. And we have to let them know that, no, it's not about us, it's everybody's thing. And that is why I love it when people, like managers get to involve other people in audit program. Let's say they are doing like sanitation audits and you have to defend, let's say you're a maintenance manager, come with your program, come speak to the auditor. Then you understand what it means to be audited. So when you go back the next time, you are going to do a better job, knowing fully whether it's not just about Terry, it's not just about Moralayo, it's not just about Nicole, it's everybody's duty to make it work.
That's an interesting point. Like some of the micro credentials that we offer, I am food and basic GMPs, they're sort of basic programs, but we've kind of encouraged anybody that has an interest in the food industry to take them for exactly your point, that food safety mindset. Even I found that even if I was recruiting for people in the finance department or HR or one of those more corporate positions, the experience in the food and beverage industry was always really important because it is a mindset, like exactly what you just said. You have to think about quality, about health and safety always, with regardless of the department that you're in. So yeah, I think that's interesting. Terry, did you have something to add there? Because I have another question for you.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, you mentioned co-op students at Trophy. Can you tell us a little bit about what they come in as, like what their experience is, maybe even how you find them? You mentioned a couple of because one of that's huge, in terms of what CareersNOW is doing and food grads as well. We get approached a lot from our school partners asking how can we get more companies involved, and so it would be good to hear your experience of the co-op program that you have.
Well, I know we have a partnership with University of Guelph, and we have had students from Conestoga. There's a food sciences program through Conestoga College as well. So we have had students that have come from those programs, food sciences, as well as just the microbiology science. We have one student that was taking microbiology, wasn't entirely sure what she wanted to do, but she did come on board. She was working in our research and development lab. So we have opportunities in research and development in our quality assurance department. We do have students that come in as well. If they're in a general business program, they do co-op placements in our IT department, in our human resources department, in our office as administrators. So we do really try to open up those opportunities to students as a whole. And I can always share that information with you afterwards so that you have that information for students if they're inquiring. But it's a great opportunity for us. And I mentioned earlier, often we find ourselves learning off the students because they are the ones that are learning this cutting edge education. And we're learning off of that. So it's a good opportunity for us as a company as well.
100%. We do really try and promote employers to bring on students and new grads for exactly that reason, especially if there's so much competition for people right now that if the company doesn't have a social media presence, this new generation coming in, they're just born in the digital age. It's not like they are qualified in social media. They can just do it, and they could set you up in like a second. Company, especially the smaller medium organizations, which we know, that largely that does make up a huge number of food and beverage companies here in Canada. So I think there's such an opportunity to come in. I'd be interested to hear how many come in and perhaps join your department, like didn't know, again, you don't know what you don't know, but come in thinking one thing and then like eyes are open to certain, what would you say are the departments that perhaps happens more or less in, like continuous improvement, your department? Like, would you say that that's sort of areas that people kind of go, I had no idea there was so much I could do, with my degree?
Well, when you look at our quality assurance department, we have not just our lab, but we have our research and development, but we also have our food safety specialists that we work with, our quality assurance supervisor that our students are working with. So there are plenty of opportunities there as in terms of our own department in quality assurance. But we do have a continuous improvement department that is within our operations. And we do have students that come in that capacity as well. We have had students come in at an HR that have an HR background. In fact, one that came in and she ended up leading our continuous improvement department and has since gone back into HR. So we've really seen a variety of students come into our doors. And yes, we have had a couple that have stayed or have come back year after year. And we're a little sad sometimes when we find out that they have moved on. And would definitely like to see some of them come back and stay with us.
Marla, do you have anything to add there on your experience working with students? Yeah,
I think the first thing I like to tell everybody, especially the new generation, is who you are today might not be who you are tomorrow. Whatever you're doing today might not be what you do tomorrow. Where if school days, like I did 5 years course in food science and technology, you had no option than to do that. But it's only when you get to the market, the work environment, that you really discover who you are, that you really discover that there is another part of you that you have not discovered, that you didn't know at all. Then you begin to grow passion. You begin to say, oh, I came in as food technologies, but now I think I have passion for HR. I came in as HR person, but now I think I have passion for sanitation. Now, that is when you begin to really know who you are. If you don't get there, you won't know. So that's why I will encourage anybody who is listening to me not to close the door at whatever you are doing. Don't just close the door of your talent. Don't close the door of your passion, right? Some people are gifted in just doing one thing all their life. Some people can be HR 100 years, but someone like me, I love new things. I love to be everywhere, right? I may be 5 years here, and if I love it, like health and safety now for some time, I've been here. But I will encourage everybody who wants to be in the food industry, getting there. Like Ontario Plate before now said, yours to discover, right? Getting there, yours to discover. So it's when you get in there that you will discover that food industry is really a nice place to work at.
And I can't remember whether I know we were chatting before we went live, but I loved what you said about everyone's going into IT, but we need people, socially conscious, bright people to join the food industry. When I was out at school visits, I would always talk about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, needs that, when you look even with the pandemic, what is on that bottom line? That food, air, shelter, there's certain things as humans we're always going to need. So when I'm talking to students that are undecided, it's like, where do I put my money, my time, my effort? Well, the food industry is not going to go anywhere. Like, it's pretty recession proof.
Yeah.
And, even with times of, world pandemics, our industry is flourishing because food is flying off the shelf. Everyone still needs to eat the canned food. Campbell's was going as Dr. Oka with the frozen pizzas. People were stock purchasing, and so there really is a place for everybody. And the passion that the both of you are demonstrating, it makes me feel better as a consumer that people care. And I think there is that misconception too that it's all about money and people are just in these jobs and they're just bringing out products and nobody really cares what's in them. And it couldn't be further, having been in the industry for over 10 years, it really couldn't be further from the truth. People go into the industry because they want to improve it and because they want to make a difference. And, in the roles that you both have, you want to make sure people are healthy and they're staying healthy, and you're providing healthy food that you said, if you wouldn't give it to yourself or your family, don't give it to everyone else, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I'm very passionate about this industry. I could talk to young people all day long about why they should choose it. I think it's again, you don't know what's available until you go down that path. And sometimes, like you, Terry, you said, sometimes your career finds you. I think that's really the case too. I mean, I've talked to so many students that started in one direction, like a general science, and they weren't sure what to do with it. And then they, I remember one story about the next class, a professor was putting food out, and they were like, what's this, and they're, hungry student, what's going on in the next class that they get to eat? And someone said, that's a food science class. And literally within an afternoon, that person changed major and went into food science and has never looked back. Product development is their life, sort of thing. So before I let you go today, one last thing I'd love to sort of discuss with you. We were laughing that we should make shirts. If you want to change the world, become a food scientist. And I think, there is so much talk about environment and environmental issues right now. And I think this is kind of in your wheelhouse with regards to your day-to-day responsibilities. If someone is sort of saying, I'm a young person, I'm starting my career, I want to make an impact in the world, what would you answer them about the food industry in terms of the impact they could make personally if they join? Sort of if they were looking at QA or product development, like food science or the quality, the sanitation, that sort of hat, what difference could they make in the world?
I think for me, if anybody has that question for me, I'll first of all ask them to look inward. Look inward, like, what difference do you want to see? Because we see things differently, right? What improvement do you want to bring? For example, let's say you've been buying products and it's been packaged with color blue and you think it's not fine, but you think, oh, I want to bring it and make it color pink. That is what you want to do, right? So for anybody to ask that question, and that is my kind of person, I throw it back to them. What do you want to see in the food industry? What improvement do you want to see? That person wouldn't answer me, I don't know. There will always be something that person wants to do. And I'll say, okay, go do it. Come make the difference. And we'll go from there.
I love that. Terry, what would you say? Final thought to you.
I think I would really share with them the level of pride that there is when you walk through that grocery store or you walk into a room and you see people eating and sharing the product that you make. There's a great deal of pride and a great deal of happiness that you're sharing when they're eating that product. So I would always tell them, just be proud of each step that you're taking as you're going forward in your path, and really pay attention to the mark that you're making. I might be that a food safety professional or sanitation supervisor, but the mark that I'm making and not even recognizing is when people walk through that grocery store and they're putting that product in their cart. They are taking that home. They are sharing it with their families and the people that mean the most to them. So our jobs are very important, and to be a part of that is moving, and it's an important part of making that decision to be in the industry.
I love that. That's amazing. And again, I can't thank you enough. Without people like yourselves joining us, and Don was meant to join us today from FGF Brands. He had a little issues to put out at the facility, but he does promise that you'll join us at another session in the future. Again, thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you, Moraleo and Terry, for your insights. We really couldn't do what we're doing in terms of inspiring people to explore careers in food and beverage production if it wasn't for you sharing your stories, sharing your passion, which is so clear as you speak. So we're so grateful. In the chat there is a link to the job seeker portal. If people that have joined today, if you would like to learn more about this program, if you'd like to join some of the job fairs, access the micro credentials that are available. They're all for free, as well as future mentorship sessions. We would be happy to have you join us on future ones. And I'm making sure we're gone right before 5 o'clock. So this is good timing. And again, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it. Have a great night, everyone.